Good evening. Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Town of Darien Zoning Board of Appeals. We're going to follow the, let's see, has the agenda been posted on the door?
Oh, yeah.
We're following the agenda.
No, it's not on the door. No, it's not.
We're following the agenda as posted. This is our first meeting in 2 years that has been in person, so welcome back, everyone. It's nice to see everyone. We would ask that if you are speaking on application, Woody, are we using this podium?
Yes.
So I'd ask that you step up to the podium, that you state your name for the record, and only speak when you're at the podium. We will have plenty of time for everyone to speak, so don't feel that you need to shout from the audience. We will conduct deliberations after the close of the public hearings. You're more than welcome to stay for the deliberations. You are not allowed to speak during the deliberations. If you choose not to stay, you can call Woody tomorrow and he'll let you know how things turned out. With that, we have calendar number 18-2021, which has been postponed again, Woody?
Yes.
So that's a second postponement. That's 19 Great Hill Road, so if you're here for that application, we're not going to be hearing that tonight. The first regularly scheduled public hearing is calendar number 4-2022. Excuse me, the application of Wayne Saunders and Laura Sisto at 34 Ridgely Street. If you're here on that application, please step forward. Point of order?
Yeah, point of order. May I ask a question, please? Am I blind, or does that say 220?
The public notice was 2022. That's just Woody's memo that has a typo.
It's a typo.
That's a typo.
Okay, sorry, I don't want to make any procedural mistakes.
Damn. Pardon me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Wayne Saunders. My fiance Laura and I live at 34 Ridgely Street with our daughters Stella and Michaela, 11 and 12. As you can see, I put together a presentation, not to be repetitive of what you've received in your materials, but try to keep the conversation efficient and targeted on, I think, what the highlights and major changes are to the property. Current home, 50s style Cape, dormer off the back, 2 bedrooms upstairs with the bathroom in the middle, with all the girls sharing it up there. I've been relegated to the first floor as it stands today. Moving on to the next page, it's just an overview of the property details of where it sits on the street. In accordance to procedure, we've notified all the neighbors and have received positive feedback, specifically, and we'll get into the right sideline view on the next slide. I've had a number of detailed conversations with John and Anna Tamboro, who live on the right side of the property, and received positive feedback and supportive feedback from them on that. Moving on to the overview of the proposed addition. It's a second floor addition with a partially finished attic. The proposed plan is to take off the existing roof and add a second floor and attic over the first floor, preserving the first floor footprint. And I'll note that it meets all other zoning requirements with the exception of the existing encroachment currently. Just kind of a little bit of the oddity about the property itself. It is quite undersized, 0.21 acres in a 1/3 zone. So I think relatively minor sideline encroachment on the back left. And we'll walk through the right sideline in a minute. So the appeal is to obtain a variance to raise the structure exactly over the current profile, chimney and structure as is. You know, it's essential for us, for our quality of life. I don't know if it meets necessarily the essential requirements of the board, but working from home, you know, property inventory and privacy for our coming of age daughters is making it required for us to put an addition on. Jumping right into the sideline view, as you see in the presentation in front of you and the board I have posted here today, you'll see the right sideline itself has the natural fencing already there. There is actually a wood fence buried in there somewhere. And you'll see that the current chimney is encroaching into the 10-foot setback on that side of the house. It's important to note that the structure itself is within code, but the chimney is the area in which it's encroaching on. So it is on the driveway side of the neighbor's house, and a couple of different views of what they'll see on the right side there.
For the record, the chimney services what, both a fireplace and the
Just the
heating
fireplace.
systems?
Just the fireplace,
The fireplace. That's already in existence on that.
correct.
On the first floor.
And do you know how the nonconformity came into play? Do you know?
I don't. My guess is that it was an undersized lot, and probably got an exemption at that point, but I don't have the history.
What do you didn't find anything about a variance being granted?
No, my only
Well,
guess is it might have been built at a time when the chimneys weren't thought of as part of the structure. And the house wall met the setback, but the chimney protruded. We have seen that sometimes.
So this wasn't
So it's not a previous variance, no.
and not a created hardship, though, in that it was probably allowed when it was
It appears to
built.
have been part of the original house construction, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Any additional questions on the right sideline? Great.
No?
I'll move on.
But again, for clarity, it looks like you're not putting in any windows on that sideline,
On the top,
on the second floor.
second floor, yep. I'm sorry, none on the second floor, correct.
Right.
And are you doing any building in that, on that side, any additional density in the setback on that side?
No additional density in the setback on that side.
Okay, so it's just the chimney is remaining as is?
Correct. Yeah, we're not wrapping it with anything, just going straight up over the brick that's there.
Is the chimney of full height now, though, or you have to add some?
I had to add to it, yeah.
Okay. Do you know approximately how much you're adding?
I don't. My guess is it's probably gonna be about, let's see, 30, probably about 10 feet, 12 feet. The next couple slides are just some proposed highlights of the build itself. Building over the existing A-frame. I wanted to highlight the height is within, within the regulation of 30 feet. We've had the architect and the surveyor compare notes on that. And likewise, on the coverage, we've modified the overhangs to meet the coverage requirements of the property.
Are you gonna put in AC units?
We believe the current AC unit will be sufficient. One of the ideas is to put a Mitsubishi unit in the attic, but we believe the current AC unit should be sufficient for the first and second floor.
Where's the
current unit?
condenser?
It's back left corner of the house.
Not on the survey. Do you see it?
No.
That's it on there, yeah.
Well, is it in the setback?
Well, the equipment would have to meet setback, because there's no variance request for that.
Right, and even if it weren't on the survey, if it were less than 2 by 2 or 2 by 2 or less, it would not affect coverage,
Correct. It would not
because they're
have more
really
coverage.
close to coverage.
Yeah, there's an allowance for equipment.
Two,
Would be
right,
okay
2 by
here.
2-ish, okay.
Oh, wait.
That's the front.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. I'm looking upside down. Yeah, got it.
Okay, we digress.
Okay. Moving on to the next slide, highlighting the, preservation of the first floor, a couple of minor changes, extending the current doorway onto the existing front porch to create a foyer, and extending the living room a couple of feet to give a little more depth in that room today. any questions on the first floor? Great. Highlighting the second and third floors, as I mentioned earlier, we're adding the master suite, the 2 rooms for the girls with the shared bathroom, and the walk up to the third floor, which is meant to be an office, now that we're all working from home a lot more often. I'll note that the attic square footage is proposed 522 versus the allowable 536. Those are the materials that I planned today, highlighting the major changes, or I guess the highlights. I'm open to any questions or feedback.
All right, so the only part that the building itself is outside of the setback area is in the back left, is that right? Is that correct?
Correct.
The whole left side.
Or is it the whole left side?
The left has 14.3 instead of 15, and the right has 8.1 to the chimney.
Right.
Instead of 10.
But, so the 14.3, if you were to take that measurement at the front of the house, you'd also be roughly 14.3?
Looks like it according to the survey,
So,
yes.
so it's only, so we're adding 0.7 on the second floor. That's the added volume.
Additional, yes.
That's the volume in the setback is 0.7 feet, second floor into the attic.
And some additional chimney.
And some
Oh,
additional,
height.
right, right.
Well, on point
Which
seven.
isn't living area, but just, I guess it is some bulk.
Considered part of the structure.
Do you mean
mass.
point 9 plus 3 is 12?
No, but it's point, so 0.7.
Okay.
7 plus 3 is 10.
About 9 inches. 8 to 9 inches.
This isn't inches, this is point, right?
Right.
Okay. Mhm.
You're right, Gary.
These are the
Okay.
the decimal system here.
You're right. Big dude.
But it doesn't,
Okay, and the hardship, I guess, as enunciated, is that it's an undersized lot for its zone.
and the house is pre-existing in that condition. Or was it? When was was the house built? Do we know if the house was built? When was,
1950.
1950.
when
Is
was
there a
the-
zoning reg?
When was the 15-foot?
Oh, that I don't know, it might have been in the 80s, I'm not sure. When the regulations changed to the full 15 and the full and 10.
So you think the house could have been conforming when it was built?
Yes, it was definitely assumed to be conforming, because it was not a prior variance.
Okay, so the change of regulations through the left side of the house into nonconformity, as well as, Kevin, to your point, the chimney on the right, probably,
Yes,
into nonconformity.
yeah, fair to say.
Okay.
Yeah, one quick, so, can you talk to us just a little bit more about why the current premises is insufficient for the needs of you and your fiance and
Yeah,
family or
sure.
not? I heard you mention, pandemic and need for an office, but, one of the things we need to find is that you're not, with the current structure and the current regulations, you don't have a sufficient use of the property in a way that's fair, basically, to put it in
Sure.
layman's terms. So if you could just articulate a little bit more for us why it is that that's insufficient and why you need more.
Sure. So the first floor does have the original master bedroom, which is what is my office now, and also a guest room. We do have the in-laws that do come and stay with us occasionally. And then the addition of the second floor gives us the space for the 2 girls to have their own bedroom, and for us to have our own privacy and bathroom on the second floor. And really, the third floor is meant to be Laura's office due to the fact that she's now work from home 100%.
And so how many bedrooms will it ultimately be?
It'll be 4 bedrooms, and then the finished attic space will technically be a office, but yeah.
And it's currently 3 bedrooms?
It's currently a 3-bedroom, correct. The 2, the standard Cape, 2 big bedrooms on the left and right, bathroom in the middle.
Good.
Gary,
I don't have any questions.
any questions?
No questions.
No? Okay.
All right.
Is there, hang on, all right, go ahead, Woody.
Standard question about
Oh, yeah, I was
what's
gonna ask
be
that.
preserved of the existing structure.
Have you had a structural engineer, someone look at the current framing of the first floor to ensure that it'll support a second floor?
We did not yet, but we do plan to preserve the existing structure as is.
Okay.
Barring any needs, if the requirement is to have an engineer, certainly we'll have that done.
That's fine, I think,
But I guess the thing is, if the left-hand wall has to come down,
right,
the question is,
should it be
it
moved?
could be brought 9 inches to the right and be in conformity. But if the left-hand wall doesn't need to come down, then this application can kind of, assuming we grant this variance, he's okay. But if during the process, the left-hand wall comes down, are we saying that he needs to move it in?
I think we're saying he needs to come back to us,
Right.
because that's a different
That's fair.
application.
That's fair, right.
So Woody, I think if you'd agree to a stipulation that either an architect or engineer, as part of the plans, certifies that the first floor is going to support this
I could do that.
second-story structure. And I guess, I mean, that's part of the building process anyways, right?
Yeah, whether it's required by a structural engineer is kind of up to you guys if you're doubtful that the 50 structure is stable and can support it. I believe the plan is to peel off the roof and basically build up, keeping the
Correct.
second floor and everything below. Is that the plan?
Correct, yes.
So the second floor structure would stay. So I think as long as we have that much, if it changes, you gotta let us know.
Yeah, I mean, nothing formal in the plans yet, but it was discussed with my architects early on.
Okay.
Last question, I know you said you've spoken to the neighbor on the right a number of times and they're supportive. The neighbor on the left, have they just been no response or?
I didn't go over and specifically run through the plans with them. We've spoken in passing about the addition, and they were supportive, but I didn't run through the specific details of it with them.
All right, Woody, are you good?
Yep.
This stip, I think, I would be fine with an architect. I don't think they need to engage a separate structural engineer unless there's some structural element that the building department wants, but.
So on the left-hand side, where you said the neighbor hasn't really approved, that is impactful on the neighbor, but it looks like the only second floor window on the left-hand side is the window in the bathroom. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think that's right, yeah. The windows on the bedrooms are front and back.
Right.
For the bed placement.
Right. So as far as the looming effect. it's just
Yeah,
the-
bathroom
it's just
window,
the
then the
bathroom
attic.
window by the tub. Okay.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to be heard on this application? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close the application.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for your time. Yep. Into deliberations. Seems very awkward evening.
Is that true, or do we do other, how are we handling other business? Are they presenting?
So that was a question I had for Woody. I think we'll handle that in other business, and we can have a conversation about how we want to handle that. Okay?
We'll wait till other business.
Yeah, because I think we closed the public hearing, we got to do deliberations and discussions, so
Okay.
let's move on to that. I'm generally in favor of the project. I think it's probably the minimum adjustment you can do on a house in Darien. Kevin, you want to kick us
Yeah,
off?
no, I mean, you guys know our ongoing deliberation about this. I don't know if there's anything unusual about this property. In fact, looks like just about every lot on this block and the surrounding blocks are .21 acres, or give or take a tenth of an acre here or there. So I struggle with that a little bit, but it is a fairly minor adjustment. The neighbors are in support, so while I'm not sure there is something truly unique that creates a hardship, I don't feel strongly about it, and could be swayed by the other members of the board.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's, they could as of right step in 9 inches, right? I just don't think that that's impactful on this property to make them do that. The fact that the house was built at a conforming time this seems really minor compared to that,
It also
and,
seems rather draconian to make them start stepping stuff in.
yeah, exactly.
Matt, you have any thoughts?
No, I agree with what you guys said. I mean, I think 9 inches is well within the room, the wiggle room that you could allow, you know, an addition to be put on, and not have to run into conformity issues, so.
Jeff?
Yeah, I'm good. I agree.
Does the chimney seem okay?
Chimney seemed fine to me, yeah.
Fine.
Chimney was less
Little impact
impactful
for
to me.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta, if we're gonna let them go to the second floor, you're gonna have to let them add to the chimney. Otherwise, it's not safe.
I'm good with the chimney. Chimney's okay.
And it doesn't provide, it's not, again, it's not looming, it's not, you know, there's no impact to the neighbor to have an additional 10 to 12 feet of chimney, I don't think.
I feel bad for bringing this up, and I'm probably gonna regret it, but it was discussed. What do we think about the AC unit?
Well, as I assume it's not on the survey, it should be in a conforming location. If it's not in a conforming location, I think they should move it into a conforming location as
I
part
don't
of
think
this
they have
project.
one.
Huh?
I don't think they have one.
But they,
It's right on the lines.
he suggested that they do.
No, why wouldn't they? I mean, this is all conforming in here,
Yeah, he says that.
somewhere in here.
Oh, it is?
This is all
No,
buildable
no, no,
area.
it could
Oh,
definitely
I
go
thought
into a.
this dashed line across the back. Is
No, I
that
think
just
that's their
structured?
current house. I think that's
Oh,
the current
okay.
house.
No, I
That's
think
the
he has,
patio, that's the current house. There's plenty of room there.
Okay.
yeah, so I would say to the, just confirm that the AC unit's in a conforming location.
Okay, and that there's no issue with coverage
Yeah,
because
what-
of the 2x2
If he
pad?
needs to put another pad there for the second floor and not use the splits, does he only get one unit as of coverage?
They could have multiple up to 20 square feet. But each unit has to be no more than 9 square feet, like 3
Oh, 3 by 3, it's not 2 by 2.
So there is an allowance. It's
So all
pretty
I would
helpful.
stip is that it doesn't seem to be on the survey, so just confirm, if not move to conform
Yeah,
the location of the AC.
Okay, so, Gary, was that a motion with a couple
Yeah.
stipulations?
It was.
Woody, are you comfortable with those stipulations? I'll go ahead and second. All in favor? Unanimous.
He's got plenty of room here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
misread
Yeah.
I misread this as the.
Yeah.
That's not the rear setback line.
No,
Yep.
it's in a, it should be in a conforming spot according to that.
I like it, very much.
You should be good, sir.
Gary,
Good luck.
Gary proposed, I seconded, and we were unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on to other business. So let's do the minutes first. Woody, you circulated all these by email?
January 19th, yes, not March 16th yet.
Okay.
January
Jeff,
19th.
Gary,
Yeah, I've
Kevin?
reviewed the January 19th minutes. I find them to be okay, and I move to approve.
okay. So we have a motion to approve?
I'll second
Jeff
that.
seconds, in favor? Okay,
So you don't have Dan, but otherwise we're okay.
4 in favor.
Postpone March 16th.
We're going
next
to
time.
postpone March 16th. So that moves on to the requested amendment to approve the plans, to amend the plan, the approved plans of calendar number 13, 2021. William P. Jones Jr. and Elizabeth Higgins Jones, 2 Contentment Island Road. So before we actually get into that, Gary, that's the question you asked is the question I had, which is, does other business allow for commentary and public testimony? Now, Woody has told me that, yes, it does. And I'll just take the feel of the board as to whether you guys think that that's appropriate, or if you want to try and struggle through it without public comment.
So I think the only problem I have is, it's a question. Were neighbors noticed of this application?
I doubt it.
So to have,
Not this proposed amendment. no.
right, so then to allow, I think, Kevin, help me through this, to allow partial public comment, only of the applicants, but not having given the opportunity of the neighbors to also comment,
Yeah.
seems a little bit
Yeah,
unfair.
I suspect there's state public open meeting law requirements about notice being given for
For a
public
public
hearings where
hearing.
action is gonna be
Right,
taken.
right.
So I think, Woody, my my I had the same reaction to that. If we accept comment from the applicant, then it's got to be a public hearing.
And give notice and opportunity
Correct.
for others to comment.
However, we can review the requested amendment with what's in front of us.
Right, and we could decide whether we think we need public
A public
comment, in
hearing.
which case we kick it to a noticed hearing.
Right.
I think that's the way to do it.
I think that's the right way to do it as well.
So what was,
Okay.
Yeah,
I can try to explain what I understand
Yeah.
of the amendment. It's
okay, but
complicated.
before we go back, before you approach that, the guys who were here on the original, what was what were the issues here that were raised? And I guess
don't
they're
think I
adding
understand.
additional, their request is to add additional volume, right? But not above the 30 feet.
Correct.
Well, first, the application was met with very little resistance.
Right.
It was a raising of a structure with some minor increase in volume, but not very much. Not that I recall, but look, I hear dozens of these things, so I could be
Right.
wrong. But just to back up a little bit with my point of view on public comment, quite frankly, you guys took one step ahead of me, because when I read through this thing, I thought that another meeting should be considered.
But why, I mean, like, again.
Why?
Yeah, how much of this
Why?
building is outside the?
Why? I'll tell you why. Because there are a lot of different requests here, and over the years, although minor, over the years, when we get into this sort of detail and several different requests, we've been known to say you're going to have to come back.
And explain it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal, but
It
Well,
is,
so let's do
it
this.
is added volume in the setback.
Let's have Woody walk us through what it is that's going
Okay.
on here.
yeah.
And then let's make a determination.
I mean, they're doing a lot of, there are 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, there are 10 bullet points here. And we're gonna do this without a public hearing? All right.
Well, I mean, but one of the bullet points is change exterior stucco to wood shingles.
Well, I
Right,
agreed
so
with that.
let's talk through what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So Woody, why don't you walk us through it?
I'll try. So previously, the site plan that you have in front of you that highlights this pink area behind the house, which is close to an inlet of the water, and it is an unusually shaped property, so the setback line is unusually shaped as well. So they were adding a little volume in the back with, I think, enclosed and open porch-type spaces. At least one of those they would like to enclose permanently now, instead of leaving open.
Okay, Woody, can I just
covers the
interrupt just one, before you get too far ahead of me, and I don't recall. I just want the board to recall that, yes, the lot is odd-shaped, but the lot was also merged with the lot, obviously, next door. So they merged the two lots and created this unusually shaped lot. So to some extent, in my view, it's a self-created hardship. However, there were hardships found originally when we merged it, so that I understand that. But I don't want anybody to assume, including Mr. Loria, that this is the way the lot was in its entirety of existence, because it wasn't. That lot was created.
Yeah, that I'm not certain of. The tennis court on the left-hand side is sort of an unusual feature, and maybe that was part of a different parcel, I'm not sure. But I know part of their design now is to remove that court and essentially landscape it. But be that on that side, the way it is, they do have a septic system. The house is in a non-conforming spot, the way we define zoning now, and it's probably been that way for many decades. So if I understand correctly, part of the plan now is to lift the existing house to meet the minimum flood elevation, which was previously approved by this board, but also to add about 1'7" of interior first floor to ceiling space that was not part of the previously ZBA approved plans. Now, if if I understand correctly, they would literally sever the house at some level above the first floor, jack it up to some point, save the roof and all the upper structure, and then they want to rebuild the floor and the foundation. So the original design had the foundation coming up, but keeping the floor and the floor to ceiling. So now they want to rebuild this layer in the middle, because part of it is they've determined the first floor structure is weak. So in the process of rebuilding that, they're asking you to also allow an extra 1 foot 7 inches of height. Doesn't exceed our 30-foot height, but it does add more volume in those pink areas of the setback.
And so,
I
so,
think that's the guts of it.
And like the
Okay.
second point, the second floor elevation, that's just a consequence of the first floor being raised, right? That's not like an additional, they're not changing, there's nothing about the second floor
The
that's changing.
floor
right?
level, I think, is, yes, going to be raised 1 foot 7, the second floor level.
But just because
That's
the
a
first floor is
factor
going
of
up.
lifting drag, the first floor.
So, am I understanding you correctly? The reason this is all happening is because they've discovered the first floor can't support the new structure, so they're gonna raise the second floor and then add additional support? Is that what you're telling me?
it doesn't sound like that. It
What?
sounds like the decking for the first floor needs to
okay.
be beefed up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
And that's
think,
what's increasing the height, right?
Yeah, but they're keeping the walls and everything
Yeah,
else
no,
to
I
the
get
first
that,
floor.
I get that, but the reason it's being done is because the first floor can't support the structure, so they're raising it up,
in that process,
strengthening it.
they would like more first floor to ceiling
Right, so
space.
they are looking for more ceiling height when you're walking
Two
around the
birds
first
with
floor.
one stone.
No, I think it's different work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just shoring up the floor joists.
Mhm.
So-
To get back to
Mhm.
maybe your initial discussion, in the past, when we've had changes of window pattern or whatever, that staff was not comfortable taking to construction permit, we've said, okay, they have to come back. Somehow they have to remove something that they didn't anticipate. So in this case, obviously, we decided this is more significant that you need to look at, and the applicant agreed.
But, so Woody, just to be clear, the areas that are, the areas that are new are in pink on this land tech drawing that I'm looking at?
I think so.
No, that's areas outside of the whole thing is new, but that's where the added volume is gonna, outside the
No,
setback volume.
these
I
are-
think it's a different plan we're talking about. This is one, but there's pink on another drawing.
This one, the land tech drawing.
Yep.
There's also something over the garage, some kind of colonnade feature that I think was going to be in the back, and they've moved it to the side, but that's in a conforming to setback spot.
Well, so that was where I was going with this, is looking at this where there's pink, which I'm assuming is new space, the only part that's in the setback is the added under walkway.
Yes, in the back.
So that's the only part that's in the setback that's a change from the original, other than the lift.
Other than the major lift, yes. I think
And
that's
and the
fair.
lift adds a foot to the entire
I think
project?
it's 1 foot 7 inches.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean,
I mean, it's more total volume than we just discussed in the prior application.
It is.
yeah, but when we granted the variance for the second
Would you-
floor, we didn't say
Right.
it's gotta be
I
to
get
a certain
it.
height.
I get it. Right,
And-
I wasn't here, but I don't think
And this has
that
been my
was,
position on
that
variance.
probably wasn't, you
Right.
wouldn't have cared. You wouldn't have ruled any differently had they asked for 22.5 as opposed to 20.98.
Right.
Well, that's always the.
So,
litmus
I mean,
test.
so the only aspect to this is the rear entry and powder room that's new and different in the setback space.
But you already approved that.
No, we didn't,
Yeah, the back setback was previously approved.
but we didn't include,
Didn't include this
Enclosed
enclosed
space in
part of the
that,
walkway
right.
thing, right.
so literally the only volume we didn't approve is that.
And what's behind this house is the inlet of the water, and quite a long way to the other home on the other side.
So you're talking
In
about.
other words, they're not crowding any neighboring house with this extra volume.
Hard to.
Was there any neighbor opposition?
No.
Well, no neighbors knew about this, but was there any neighboring opposition during the original application?
I don't believe we got any comment at all.
I could be persuaded to handle this without public hearing and vote on the,
What do you think, Jeff?
It's fine by me.
I mean, I don't, as a policy, I don't like the idea, but it's so minimum, and Kevin's gonna disagree with me here, because volume's volume, but we've never said, as long as you're conforming to a height regulation, we've never been like, you know what, that's just way too high. Right? If you came in if they were bringing the same application saying, hey, we need a height variance for this, I think it'd be a different conversation.
It would be.
so I think you're saying the same thing. If they came in with this application, your decision wouldn't have been any different.
I don't think so, no.
I don't think so
Okay,
either.
but where do we draw the line in terms of additional volume? Like, we're saying this isn't that big a deal, it's not that much, but where do we draw the line that we say it is too much? Or as long as it's.
Well, you already, yeah, I mean.
We already granted the
basically-
variance for
Yeah, I
the
understand.
volume.
So does
I mean-
this change the minimal, I mean, basically you have to
I don't know, I mean-
individually say, Kevin, is this more than a minimal adjustment necessary? You know, maybe by the fact that they could have lived with the way it was, so that's the minimal adjustment
I
necessary.
mean, my view is based on how we started this conversation, which is public hearing, public notice. We should be, my view is, in additional business without a public hearing, approving purely ministerial, non-structural changes to what we previously approved. Said differently, I don't think we should ever approve additional volume in setbacks without a public hearing. And that's what we're doing. And that just makes me uncomfortable from just the public policy standpoint of it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that statement. So when is our next regularly scheduled
Well,
hearing?
May 18, we'd have to get the application in promptly to start up the process. Today was the application deadline.
And where are they in process on this project? Have they started construction?
No.
I don't know. Well, let's put it to a vote. And if it fails, then they bring a
Yeah,
public
I
application.
actually find Kevin's argument persuasive.
I do as well, but
So I think the vote is not to deny this, but to say they should bring it to a public hearing.
well, no, if we deny it, they've got to go to a public hearing.
But I'd like to have the record reflect that we're not denying substantively, we're denying it procedurally.
Correct.
Just,
Well, I'm not denying it. I'd actually approve it.
I get what you say, but if two doesn't carry, then three
Well,
want
it
to.
could be a majority vote for an amendment to the plans. You don't need 4 of you to
Oh, I only need two.
vary
I
the
only need two others?
regulations. So it could be
I
3 if
understand.
you 5.
I understand.
Have at it, my friend.
I mean, I'm too new to really have a whole opinion. And I understand that procedurally, I mean, does anybody actually think, though, that there will be a difference made at the public hearing? Someone will say, oh, actually, we were fine with it with 8-foot ceilings, but now they've done 9-foot ceilings, and we can't have that. And it doesn't sound like they don't have neighbors either. So I understand from a procedural perspective, but I just, practically, I can't imagine that it will make any difference.
Kevin, do you think if an applicant comes in and says they could live with 8-foot ceilings, and then they want 9-foot ceilings, is the minimal adjustment necessary 8-foot ceilings?
I mean, it's hard, it's obviously a property by property determination, but yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at this in an equitable standpoint, and I'm going to go back to, and Kevin, I know you're not going to agree with this, but that's okay. Like-minded men can
Jeez.
disagree.
Bad guy. Huh?
You know, I think that had this application come in originally, it would have passed the same level of scrutiny as the minimum adjustment. I understand in the construction process, these types of things come up. Woody, I think that's why we need to be a little bit more proactive and this isn't to admonish Woody, but I think we need to make applicants really stick to, you know, if this is your structural engineer and this is what he's saying you can build, then that's what you're building. Because that's what these problems are based on. and then they get thrown back on us to sort of solve it. And, you know, I think in this instance, it would have been granted either way. There wasn't really strong neighbor opposition. I do think that the added under walkway is a different thing. It's a new and different thing. Everything else we approved was part of the original plan. So I would make a motion to approve the changes that they've proposed except for that added under walkway.
Except that walkway enclosure.
Enclosure, yes.
Which they can come back to with the,
Which they could absolutely come back to for a public hearing on that.
Oh, that just drew the line down the middle of the street. Okay.
I mean, it's all volume.
it works for me
It's all
because-
volume we were comfortable with before except for that.
I'm with you all the way. The funny thing is that originally, first I was like, okay, public hearing, just come back, I'm done. And then you convinced me, no public hearing, don't worry about it. And now you went right down the middle of the road. That's beautiful.
Is that a second?
That's a second, sir. I'm going to second that.
what do you need to carry this?
I need 3.
You need simple majority.
Simple majority. All in favor?
You have to be in favor.
Sorry. Well, I seconded it. But
Right.
I'll vote too.
So we've got
So-
simple majority.
Simple
All
majority.
opposed?
I'll go for the for procedural purposes.
Yes. Okay.
It's almost
Fine,
like abstaining. I like just abstain because it was just so much middle down the road. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm sure Mr. Tibbetts can handle it.
Okay. That was different.
That was different. Woody, what I'm going to
Gotta
suggest
keep it interesting.
in the
You
future
can
though
come back.
is, so I don't have to fight with Mr. Thornton because I don't like that.
Oh, jeez. That's the third time under the bus tonight.
No, I know,
Yikes.
he makes a very valid point. I just think that, you know, we need to be a little bit more diligent with applications in saying, if you're proposing this, and you come back to us and say, part of the first floor can't remain, or I need a taller first floor, then it's a new application.
We actually have a letter that goes to the applicants after your decisions that includes a lot of stuff on how to get a permit to build, but also it includes things like you've committed to preserving the foundation, the first floor.
Yeah.
The first floor walls or whatever it is. And if you change that, you have to go back to the board. So it is pretty clear in the notification letter.
Maybe we start highlighting it on the trickier
Initially,
ones.
we hope that they have a good professional team that evaluates all this stuff ahead of time. And it looks like something was missed here.
Okay. Do we have, Matt, are you a regular or an
That's a
alternate?
regular.
You're an alternate, Gary.
I'm an alternate.
Do we want to wait until we have a panel of 5 regular members to elect officers?
I don't care. I mean, are we ever
I
going to
think-
have 5 regular members?
Dan, are you gonna have, I mean, yeah,
Dan is the other
Dan
regular?
is the other one.
It just is hard to get everybody the same day.
What's your
but-
plan for May? I mean, you should,
Should
Well,
maybe,
By June, we should be electing officers
all right.
Anyway.
We voted on you guys. Okay.
for next year.
So.
It's up to you guys.
My
I'm not gonna
position on officers, I think we need to have further sidebar conversation. And I'd like to push this to, just push it to May
So let's
18th or whatever.
let's do our goose dinner then. Let's schedule that.
That's fine. I'm down with that. I was there the other day
Okay.
with Barb.
Scheduling meeting 7:30, that was a Kevin accommodation.
Yeah,
How
listen,
are you doing?
Just like today, like I got the 5:55 train and thankfully was on time, so I was 2 minutes late, you
Yeah.
know, so.
Is it making it miserable on you?
No, it's not.
Okay.
If you guys, if it's not, it's preferable for me, it makes my life easier, but it's not a hill I'm gonna die on because I can make it work. despite-
but I would vote for 7:30 also.
I would too.
I don't think we're staying all that, right, you're, yeah. so what
Not
you're
right,
gonna
not
do
right
or-
now. I can do whatever time you want right now, but in the future, I'm gonna have a tougher time getting back, so.
All right, you want to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to move, if an alternate can do that, to 7:30.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think we've had a lot of applications, and we're not going to 11 o'clock. We used to do that.
Yeah, I
We used to
remember.
go to
I
11.
remember.
Oh, yeah,
Woody, is
100%. Then I'd
there
be
a
in
way
bed
to
like
do it on a
2.
case-by-case basis, or does it have to be set in stone for every meeting?
Well, we have to have a regular meeting schedule that's recorded with
So
the
I
town
would say,
clerk.
let's have a regular meeting schedule of 7:30, and if there happens to be an overloaded day, maybe we notice something for 7,
Can we do that?
maybe.
Not supposed to, once it's.
Well, we
public.
changed it to
I-
7:30 last month.
Yeah. we
Our
had
meeting
to-
was at 7:30.
We were trying to meet with the town council too.
It doesn't matter. The
Let's
point
do
is we
7:30.
did
No,
it.
we
I don't
don't
thi-
start it at 7 with an executive. Why don't we do
Yeah.
this?
But I don't think we're doing a lot of,
Do you want to keep it at 7, and we can have executive sessions whenever we want to do it at 7:30?
no, let's move it to 7, I'd like to move it to 7:30.
You have a second?
So I think Gary made a motion.
All in favor?
3 out of 5.
Is that what it is? Really? Oh, no.
I like my 7 o'clock.
Yeah, me too.
I can't eat.
Does that carry? If it doesn't carry, I'll.
Three is
push it.
enough.
Yeah, if it doesn't, listen,
I mean, I'm
if
not-
these guys want 7:30.
Again, I'm not gonna die on
it's
that
fine.
hill
Not
over
gonna,
there.
30
I'd
minutes
rather
isn't
make it
gonna
like these
kill
days.
me.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
It's gonna take a little work with the town clerk to be able to effectively do that. If we can do it next month, we will. If not, I may have to wait till a month or two. So if that's okay, I believe it's okay with Dan and Barb. So that's what-
Yeah, I don't think Barb cared.
State legislation's been put on hold, so we don't need to worry about that.
No.
Historic preservation considerations, that's a Barb Hazelton issue, which,
Mhm.
next time she's here, I'd like to get an update on that. 'Cause I think it's getting some traction. Continued live meetings, I thought this worked out fine.
It's fine.
Fine.
Great. Okay.
So we'll continue on with that, Woody. Use of online applications, aren't we doing that?
I thought we were.
Yes.
Yes, so.
Would you guys want to see applications online?
So that's the problem.
Oh, our
I need-
packets?
I need the paper.
Oh, I need the paper. Oh, yeah, no,
That's pretty
no,
clear.
no, I didn't know that was the issue. If
Is
that's
that
the
what-
That's one of
issue.
the, that's one of the questions.
No, paper.
We had both. We had the applicants submitting online, and we posted on the website. We're
You
also
submit
still-
online, you can print it out. and
I
put it
gotta
in my
tell you,
packet.
even after doing this many, I do still,
Yeah, it is. To be able to.
Yeah, no, I
It's
want
not the
paper.
feel, it's be open up and see.
it's the
okay,
size
where's
really,
the-
yeah,
Where's the buildable area, where's?
yeah.
A lot of people like to take it out on the road over the steering wheel and see the job.
I've seen you do that.
So Woody, on,
Stuck in somebody's driveway.
on possible meeting with town council, consider possible policies. I'm against I'm not against a meeting with town council, but I am against written policies for this board.
I agree with you. The only thing I wanted town council to do is because I think it's, instead of that course upstate on zoning, I think town council, because there's been enough new cases, should help us, especially with new members, tell us kind of what the standard is that we should be applying instead of us trying to figure it out. So I think it's been on enough years.
Okay, so Woody, maybe,
We can arrange that.
maybe we can arrange. a
Thank you
meeting.
for coming, Bonnie.
Thank you,
Oh,
Bonnie.
it's a pleasure to be here. Nice to be with people again.
Yes, indeed.
So we could have an arrangement with town council to go over that with, let's say, an updated case law. And maybe also review the proposed legislation. I know that got put on hold.
I don't want, let's wait and see. Do you want town council to talk about a legislation that's on hold?
Nope. No interest.
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, look, if it ties into the education process.
Right.
Absolutely, because I think there is.
Standards and whatever.
There is some questions that we had about use variances, things like that, that we kind of felt weren't really, our purview. So I think as it relates to that, but I don't know. I would make it focus more on the current law.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
With that, there was one other thing, what was it? Oh, again, Woody, 11, bylaws and policies, I'm not a fan. Is anyone on the board a fan?
Yeah.
So I think we can take those off. We'll keep a meeting with town council.
I do have one more, if it's okay. This was an extension request that came in after we put the agenda together.
Oh.
So we'd have to add it to the agenda if that's.
All right, so I'll make a motion to add it to the agenda.
It's for Morrison on
2/3.
Prospect
There
Avenue.
you go. You got Gary, Matt, myself.
What's up there is they're asking for another year to implement their project beyond.
Who?
Their name is Morrison, and I forgot husband's name. It's on Prospect Avenue, fairly big addition to one of those older Italianate style houses.
What's the problem?
The COVID, the pricing of materials, the fact that it's gone up so much, they're hoping that costs will come down again, and basically they just can't afford it right now. So they're asking for a year's
They
extension.
want a year? Have we extended it before?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't care.
Make a
So their
motion.
initial variance is coming up to expire.
Yeah,
They haven't
May.
started work. And their
They haven't started work.
initial request, instead of the usual 6 months, they're asking for a year.
An extra year.
I don't have a problem with that. They
Okay.
haven't kicked it down too much, so that
No.
keeps them from coming back.
Yep.
So I'll move to approve that.
I'll second. In favor?
Okay.
Okay.
Do you
Thank you.
mind,
everyone.
would you tell me who agreed to put that on the agenda? Who made the motion to?
He
I
did.
made the motion.
And he seconded.
Seconded,
Thank you.
and,
And it was
Ken, were you in
unanimous.
favor of that?
Yeah, sure.
Unanimous.
I mean, I don't think the price of material is gonna come down that dramatically, but
Yeah, probably. Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
second.
Hey, thank you.
All in
guys.
favor? Thank you very much. Channel 79, we're all set. Thank you.